obviously this is a hot topic. Everybody's talking about it, and I look, I just for let's first start here. What is the current state of things? How many National Guard troops do we have? Where are they deployed from? How many Marines do we have? Where are they coming from? And then what are they doing? What's the mission currently as of 2 o'clock on Tuesday?
Over the weekend, the president deployed 2,000 National Guards troops uh, to LA to handle the riots. He has since deployed another or an additional 2,000, so that's 4,000, and about 1,700 of them are currently there. At this point, right now, all they're going to be doing is protecting law enforcement and federal buildings. Because they don't have, at this point, the authority to go out and make arrests of protesters, for example.
And what would
And
be
so,
needed for that authority? Just not to jump in there, but to explain it.
yeah. So the the secretary can choose to go forward with a deployment of troops to of active duty troops to the U.S. However, it's not something that happens often, and so whenever it does happen, to get them to do more than just sort of support, it requires the president to invoke the Insurrection Act, which is something that very rarely happens, even though the president has talked about it dating back to his first term in office following the protests and the riots in the summer of 2020.
So Newsom saying don't deploy. In fact, he sent a big nasty gram letter the other day asking Trump and the administration to withdraw the troops. And Trump is doing it anyway. Under what authority is Trump doing it? Is this legal? Right? Is the Supreme Court is some federal court judge somewhere going to issue an injunction against this? And if it is, what under what authority?
So, all good questions. And so, as you mentioned, broadly, the governor of any state is in charge of their National Guard. So, they can choose to deploy them, whether it's for something like riot control or something like a response to a humanitarian disaster like an earthquake or a hurricane. And so, it is very rare, as you mentioned, for the president to go around a governor and deploy the National Guard. And so, this is something that hasn't been done since segregation, since the integration of schools in the 1960s, when President Johnson went around the sitting governor to force the integration of schools. So
And
it's been a
Kennedy did
long
it
time.
before that in 62 and 63. So they
Absolutely.
both
So
did.
it's been a number of decades since it's happened, and we're about to find out the level of legality because Governor Newsom has filed a lawsuit, and so this will play out in the courts, as you mentioned. So this will be stress test right now in real time, and we'll see the amount of power the president has to usurp a governor regarding the deployment of the National Guard. That being said, the president does have the right to federalize the National Guard, which is well within his limits or her limits as president. However, so often is the case that it's done in conjunction with or with the approval of the governor.
So their mission is very specific. So this is not the Marines or the National Guard being ineffective in some way or not being used to their full potential, because right now they're strictly for this very narrow purpose of protecting law enforcement and federal property.
That's exactly right. And so, as I said, it's really to allow their presence is to allow law enforcement to do their job to the best of their abilities without having to worry. And so, if they are able to effectively help protect federal buildings, then it would allow law enforcement to then go after people who are robbing and looting from the Apple Store and the like.